So we're going to continue with factoring trinomials, but we're going to add to that solving equations. So for the zero product property work, remember we have to set it equal to 0. So my first step here would be to subtract 20 from each side. Get 6x squared plus 7x minus 20 equals 0. So now we just want to factor it. Again, you can use your guess and check, or 6 times 20 is 120. So I'm looking at factors of 120 that differ by 7. So I start going through 1 and 120, 2 and 60. I know they need to be a little closer together. 3 and 40. So keep going until you find that it looks like it's going to be 8 and 15. So it's going to be 6x squared. I need the bigger one to be positive, so plus 15x minus 8x minus 20 equals 0. I did forget to remind you, always look for something in common first. We didn't have anything, but don't forget that now that we've learned that. So what do we have in common here? We have a 3x, leaving me with 2x plus 5. Here I need to factor out a negative 4, leaving me with 2x plus 5. So they have a 2x plus 5 in common, so I factor that out, leaving me 3x minus 4. So now that I have factored, I can use the zero product rule. So this first one, 2x plus 5 equals 0, that would give me x equal. If I subtract 5 and divide by 2, I'm going to negative 5 halves. And this one, if I add 4 and divide by 3, I'm going to get 4 thirds. So those would be our two answers here. Alright, again, I need to get it set equal to 0, and I want my x squared positive, so I'm going to bring these two over here. So I'm going to have 8x squared. To get rid of this minus 3x, I need to add 3x. So if I add 3x to a negative 9x, I'm going to get negative 6x. I want to get rid of this 4, so I'm going to subtract 4, and it gives me negative 9 equals 0. Do I have anything in common in 8, 6, and 9? Not in all of them, no. So again, if I'm using the method I've been showing you, I'm going to multiply these two together, 72. Looking at factors of 72, that'll give me 12. So again, just start listing them, 1 and 72, 2 and 36, until you come up with the right pair. I think we can use 12 and 6. We used that yesterday, I believe. So 8x squared. We want the bigger one to be negative, so negative 12x plus 6x minus 9 equals 0. So here, what do they have in common? A 4x, leaving us 2x minus 3. Here, what do they have in common? A 3, leaving us 2x minus 3. So now we have the binomial 2x minus 3 in common. Factoring that out, it leaves us with 4x plus 3. If you set each factor to 0 and solve, from this one you're going to add 3, divide by 2, so you're going to get 3 halves. This one you're going to subtract 3 and divide by 4, you're going to get negative 3/4 as your two answers. Again, we need to get it set equal to 0, and I want to keep my y squareds positive, so I think I'm going to get rid of these things on this side. So I'm going to subtract 3y squared from each side, leaving me 15y squared. I'm going to add 5y to a negative 19. That would give me negative 14y minus 8 equals 0. So remember, ask yourself, is there anything in common, anything that goes into 15, 14, and 8? Not in all three of them, no. So if I multiply 15 and 8 together, I get 120. So again, I'm looking at factors of 120. Signs are going to be different, so I'm going to be subtracting them, give me 14. So again, start through the list, and should become, we've done 120 several times, so we should be better at it. 1 and 120, 2 and 60, and you just keep going. I think we're going to find that 6 and 20 work. So 15y squared, the 20 needs to be negative, so negative 20y plus 6y minus 8 equals 0. So what do we have in common? A 5y, leaving us 3y minus 4. What do we have in common over here? A 2, leaving us 3y minus 4. So we have a 3y minus 4 in common, times the quantity 5y plus 2. So if we set this equal to 0, we're going to get add 4 divided by 3, we're going to get 4 thirds. Subtract 2 and divide by 5, we're going to get negative 2/5 as our answer. Okay, so we're going to talk about equation for the vertical motion of a projected object. So like you throw something out there or something like that. So here is the equation, h equals negative 16t squared plus vt plus s. H is the height, and usually it's in feet. T is the time in seconds. V is the initial upward velocity, so how fast it's going when you first throw it or shot out or whatever. And S is the starting height of the object in feet. So here's our problem. At a pep rally, small foam footballs are launched by cheerleaders using a slingshot. How long is a football in the air? So we're trying to find the length of time. If a student in the stands catches it on its way down 26 feet above the gym floor, it is released from a height of 6 feet. In other words, the little thing they're shooting it from is 6 feet, with an initial velocity of 42 feet per second. So we're going to put those things in this formula in the right place. So here I have the formula again. All right, so what are we going to put in for the height? Well, the student caught it, it said, when he was 26 feet, so that's going to be there. Negative 16, we don't know our time, t squared. The initial velocity was what? How fast was it going when it was shot up? It was 42, so plus 42t. And what was the starting height? Well, it started at 6. So that's how you put them in their place. And now we just need to go about solving it. Again, I don't like my t squares to be positives or negative, so I think I'm just going to take everything to the left side. So I'm going to add 16t squared to both sides. I'm going to subtract 42t from both sides. And I'm going to subtract 6 from each side, giving me 20 equals 0. Now, can you do it the other way? Yes, you can. And then you can probably factor out a negative and take care of that. But remember, our first step in factoring is see what do they have in common. So what number goes into 16, 42, and 20? Is there anything? Yes, there is. So I would suggest you factor that out first. It'll make our factoring later on a little easier. So that would give me 8t squared minus 21t plus 10 equals 0. So now I want to try to factor this. So I multiply my 8 and 10 together. I'm really looking at factors of 80. So I have 1 and 80. 2 and 40. I do need to be adding them if you look here. I don't think 3 goes into 80. 4 and 20. 5 and 16. And it looks like that's the one that's going to work. So again, I'm going to keep my 2 out here in front. And it's going to be 8t squared. They're both negative, so minus 16t minus 5t plus 10 equal 0. So if I group them as they are, make this plus negative, what do I have in common here? I have a 4t, leaving me 2t minus, oops, wait a minute, got a bigger thing, I got an 8t in common, leaving me t minus 2. And then over here I have a negative 5 in common, leaving me with t minus 2. So I got my 2. I'm going to factor out that t minus 2, leaving me with 8t minus 5 equal 0. So when you set all those factors equal to 0, well, 2 will never be equal to 0, so we can throw it out, so we don't have to worry about that. We get t minus 2 equals 0. I guess I don't need to do this step anymore. Sorry, I forgot about, we're past that. Equals 0. So we get t equals 2, or if we add 5 and divide by 8, we get 5/8. Now's when we need to go back and read what the question was, and it says, how long is the football in the air if the student in the stand catches it on its way down? So if you think about the problem, here's our thing shooting off. It's going to go up, and he's going to catch it on the way down. So it's going to reach this height again, so it's going to be the 2 seconds is going to be the answer. It reaches the same height, that 5/8 on its way up, but we want to know when it's on its way down, so that would be the answer to that one. So make sure you interpret.